If you have not heard, BRICS is going to be expanding. And there was actually recently a summit that they had in Cape Town, South Africa, to discuss expanding BRICS. And it appears that Mexico is moving closer and closer to their decision to possibly join BRICS. Let's go ahead and dive right in here.
BRICS is on a path of expansion, but there's been little progress in deciding who will make the cut after 2 days of meetings in Cape Town. At the moment, the group is made up of 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. At least 19 countries, including Saudi Arabia, Iran and Gabon, have expressed interest in joining the bloc. For many, it's emerged as an alternative to Western dominance and potentially providing a counterbalance to the West.
It's a kind of a slightly ambivalent sort of organization, because I think it likes to see itself as non-aligned. But you know, if in the increasing polarized world that we're in at the moment, where Russia and the West, NATO, are at each other's throats, you know, to have one of those poles of the new conflict that is already a BRICS member creates a complication there.
Its plan for a common currency for trade within the bloc has not been finalized, and for now wants to increase trade among its member states in their local currencies, ultimately reducing reliance on the US dollar. South Africa's Foreign Affairs Minister Naledi Pandor says the group is hoping for more cooperation.
We also looked at, I think, an important subject, which is what are the links that there should be between BRICS and G20 in an increasingly, in our view, multipolar world. We have a sense that we're moving away from a unipolar, and there's increasing interest in multipolarity.
So we're hearing this term again about a multipolar world. By the way, there are other channels that talk about this like all the time. By the way, Danny Haifong talks about this, Ben Norton talks about this, and this is becoming a more common phrase that we're hearing, where they want to have different countries have a seat at the table where one country is not driving the ship, so to speak. All these countries having more of a horizontal approach in reference to leading and not basically answering to one dominant power. So this is becoming more and more common.
So how do we draw together these formations that have a number of shared ideals and goals?
As countries around the world recover from the impact of the pandemic and the global economy remains in distress, leaders here say the growing BRICS New Development Bank will continue to provide support to programs to end poverty. But as the bloc looks to expand, some say members like South Africa and Brazil may be concerned their influence could be reduced. And
just want to pause here in reference to ending poverty. That's one of the subjects that they're discussing, or seems like they're at least trying to do. And I think that's a big deal. Brazil obviously is a hot button for some people, and so is South Africa. So when you see all of these countries have come together on mainly just agreeing with the fact that we cannot have one dominant power in the world anymore, and we need to have a say as well. Maybe if all of us just came together, we would be stronger together and have some type of horizontal organization. So times are changing.
That the group may lack a clear identity and unified policy. Famida Miller, Al Jazeera, Cape.
So that's Al Jazeera. Obviously, this group is going to have issues. They have to figure out what are they going to agree around. They're trying to figure out a common idea for currency that they can all share possibly in the future, but they are going to have to reach some agreements now. And then there is this issue with Mexico. I told you a while back that Mexico was interested in joining BRICS. It seems like they're getting closer and closer to making that decision. This video here, BRICS confirms Mexico quest to join, should be a wake-up call for everyone. And if Mexico were to join BRICS, what does that mean for the US dollar? This is a very important subject, and I sincerely hope everyone is paying attention to what is happening around the world.
Unanticipatedly, Mexico was elected to become a member of the BRICS group. This decision has sparked a flurry of arguments and speculations about the implications that it will have for Mexico's national security, economic prospects, and relations with the United States. Before we proceed, kindly return the favor and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe.
We'll skip that part.
Becoming a member of the BRICS alliance will have a considerable influence on the country's overall sense of national security. According to what was stated in an article published by StrikeSource, becoming a member of BRICS would provide Mexico more influence when dealing with issues concerning domestic security. The members of the alliance have a plethora of experience in defending themselves against a variety of dangers, including terrorism and cyber warfare, among others. By working together, Mexico would be able to gain access to their knowledge and share relevant intelligence, both of which would strengthen the country's existing security infrastructure. The inclusion of Mexico in BRICS raises more concerns about the organization's ability to survive in the long run. According to the article published by the Eurasia Media Network, the inclusion of Mexico might be an indication that the alliance has expanded beyond its initial bounds. This step demonstrates the BRICS' growing significance on the world stage as well as its willingness to welcome new members. The possibility of Mexico adopting the currency used by the BRICS nations is also highlighted in this article. If Mexico did so, this would give more variation to the global monetary system. The decision to join BRICS was made during a period in which tensions between Mexico and the United States were growing to an increasingly hostile level. According to the Mexican Daily Post, one reason for Mexico's interest in the BRICS is because the country's relations with the United States have been deteriorating.
And that's also the reason why some of those other countries have decided to join BRICS. A zombie in the air says the U.S. will let this happen. I don't know how they would stop it unless they were to invade Mexico. I think that would be very dangerous. But I don't know how else they could stop it. Like, honestly, I think these countries have had enough of the U.S. government domination over the world and over 800 military bases all over the world. I think they've just had enough and they're tired of this. But to this point, Mexico is getting tired of the relationship that they have with the United States. And if there are other countries that are willing to work with Mexico in a way where Mexico is not at the bottom and the other countries are on top, then I can understand why Mexico would be willing to join BRICS to free themselves of the hold from the U.S. government.
Which in turn has prompted Mexico's interest in the BRICS. As a result of Mexico's membership in BRICS, the country may have the opportunity to acquire access to a different economic and political system, which would reduce Mexico's dependency on the United States of America and open up new avenues for commerce and cooperation with the organization's other members. In terms of the economy, the fact that Mexico is now a member of the BRICS bloc may open up new opportunities for the country. According to a description provided in a blog post by Digital Turbine, the economy of Mexico is already in a position to be a significant participant outside of the BRICS countries. However, becoming a member of BRICS will significantly improve its economic prospects and provide it with access to a larger market. The article promotes Mexico as a viable partner for the BRICS alliance due to the country's big population, attractive geographical location, and plenty of natural resources. The likelihood of Mexico becoming a member of the BRICS bloc holds potential benefits, but it also raises concerns about potential tensions inside the organization. The Wilson Center looked into how the member countries of the BRICS already compete with one another on the domestic level and have different goals in mind. As a result of the addition of Mexico to the alliance, there will be a new voice and perspective to consider, which has the potential to make these dynamics more complex. Nevertheless,
I just want to add something here. Some of you may be wondering, well, are there any goods that we get from Mexico? Did you know, a lot of times people mention that a lot of the auto parts are made in China or made in Japan instead of being made in the United States like they used to be. Did you know that Mexico also makes auto parts for the United States? There's also food that we get from Mexico. There's a lot of trade here that could also be affected.
Nevertheless, these challenges may be conquered via effective communication and teamwork, which will ultimately result in a robust and productive partnership. China has a lot of influence inside the BRICS group because it is such a prominent member of the organization. An essay published in the Mexican Law Review highlights China's participation in the BRICS initiative and the advantages Mexico can gain from allying with China's economic might. The article also discusses the advantages Mexico can obtain from allying with China's participation in the BRICS initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, of China and the country's growing investment in Mexico both present opportunities for China and Mexico to collaborate on economic development and the construction of new infrastructure. There has been interest shown in Mexico's potential membership in BRICS from a number of other countries. According to Prensa Latina, a number of countries have expressed an interest in joining BRICS since they see it as a competitive alternative to established global powers.
Last I checked, it was 19 other countries that were interested in joining BRICS.
BRICS stands for the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa group. It is possible that Mexico's participation will set a precedent and inspire other nations to follow suit, so boosting the impact that the alliance has on the international stage. The ramifications of Mexico's membership in BRICS extend far beyond the realms of economics and national security. The verdict is significant in terms of geopolitics because it challenges the established order of the globe, which is now dominated by states in the West. An essay published by Deutsche Welle investigates how the BRICS nations reflect a multipolar world order while also serving as a counterbalance to the West. The addition of Mexico to the BRICS group broadens the spectrum of possibilities, increasing support for the concept of an international order that is more democratic and equitable, as well as a representation within the coalition. Another question that is brought up by the possibility of Mexico joining the BRICS is what the future holds for Mexico's relationship with the United States. According to a piece published by the Council on Foreign Relations, the decision was made at a time when relations between the United States and Mexico have been strained as a result of various concerns, including conflicts regarding trade and diverging approaches to immigration regulations. It is possible that Mexico's association with BRICS will redefine its geopolitical stature as the country works to diversify its relationships and reduce its dependence on the country that lies to its north.
Yes, very interesting. And I'll go ahead and stop it there. But this is something we all need to keep our eye on. And I also have the question, what would this mean for the cartels if Mexico joins BRICS? Would that be a pro for the cartels, or would that be a con? Like, would that help the cartels, or would it actually hurt the cartels? One of the things you have to understand in a country like Mexico, and I had a friend who was from Mexico that I met in grad school, they don't have some of the same opportunities that we have in this country. The way that he explained it to me is that in Mexico, if you're born poor, you die poor. They don't have like a welfare program like we do in the United States. They don't have like these social programs that can help people somewhat to help you get out of that poverty situation. And it's hard to get out of poverty in the United States, even though we have social programs. And the reason why he said that is because the cartels control so much. So the thing is, what would this mean to the cartel industry? Thank you so much for this, Eric. Eric says in 2020, the U.S. imported around $325 billion in goods, about 14% from total imports. So this is huge news. But what would happen? What would happen to the U.S. dollar if Mexico were to join BRICS? What happens if they accept that new currency? Listen to this. Mexico's alignment with BRICS could alter the geopolitical dynamics in the North and Latin American region. It may result in the reconfiguration of alliances and partnerships, potentially impacting Mexico's relationship with other countries, particularly those outside BRICS. The move could also lead to closer ties with BRIC members and reshape global power dynamics. What happens to the US dollar if BRICS launches a new currency? In addition, Mexico accepting BRICS currency for international trade could pave the way for Latin American countries to cut ties with the US dollar. Boom. And then what happens? The BRICS currency could capture the Latin American markets, making other nations in reliance on the US dollar as well. You see how this can spread? Mexico's participation might be an important gateway for the BRICS currency to access and trade in Latin American markets. The move might extend to areas such as diplomacy, security, and cultural exchanges, fostering closer relationships among the participating nations. So, yeah, This is why I've been watching this story. And I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, Mexico's thinking about joining BRICS, but I've been checking this every week because this is what it could mean for the rest of us in reference to the US dollar. So we have to pay attention to what is happening globally around the world, not just what's happening in our country. See what I mean when I say that foreign policy, in my opinion, is domestic policy? Because in some way, shape, or form, we're usually either a part of it or we're affected. So we'll keep our eye on the story, guys. It's still developing. Thank you, foe. Get ready for a coup or assassination in Mexico. Thank you, Roger. Yes, Sab, North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. And thank you for the super sticker, Susanna. Thank you so much. Yeah, buddy. Times are changing.